17th Amendment is basically the amendment that says that our politicians live in Washington, D.C. after we elect them, and we have no power or authority over them after that. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the 17th Amendment covers the election of our representatives and so forth. And that did change. It wasn't originally the way it's outlined now. The senators used to be elected from the state legislatures of each state and sent to Washington, D.C. for a short time period. And then when the 17th Amendment was enacted, that was done to provide a closer relationship between the constituents and their representatives or senators that you send to Washington, that it actually had a reverse effect. They're elected by the popular vote of the people of the state now, but they reside predominantly in Washington, D.C., and there's a huge disconnect. And the founding fathers of our country did not envision our representation to be that way. Absolutely. It should be done on a local level where the people and their representatives can interact, and the representatives or senators can see what is actually happening in real time in their states.
And on that same light, I just saw John Tester in the hall and said hi to him, and we're going to see him Friday at a conference in Bozeman. But also, I heard Max Baucus was in town, and he snuck in again and went to the McKenzie River Pizza place, said hi to a couple people and left, and we've been begging to have a town hall with him and Tester both to get the issues on the table, and they refused to meet with anybody in the state of Montana in any kind of form or fashion. So we want that 17th Amendment changed, and we want them to take the responsibility to talk to their constituents here.
Yes, they're cowards. They don't want to face their constituents. They want to face a hand-picked crowd that they're not going to get any hard questions from. They're fine with that, but they don't want to face the majority of the people of Montana.
Right.
And so that's why they're doing their avoidance maneuvers, they call them.
So I know you've started a recall petition for Max Baucus, and it has thousands of signatures on it. Where do you think that's going to go, and are we going to be able to put enough pressure on the system to recall a senator like that?
Well, the recall petition was started in September. I wrote the petition and posted it online. Currently we have more than 6,000 signatures.
Right. We
have close to 5,700 on the online petition, and I have lots and lots of hand signatures on petitions that have been circulated by hand. The history of recalls of U.S. senators, there's never been one recalled. There's only 17 states in the United States that allow for the recall of elected politicians, and only 9 of those include elected senators and congressmen. And Montana happens to be one of those 9 that does have a statute that allows for the recall. There have been Supreme Court cases which have said that states don't have the power to recall senators or congressmen, but in the long run, I think that we'll win out on this. There's currently a case going to court in New Jersey. People of New Jersey are trying to recall Senator Menendez from their state, and that's going to court on February 26th. They have their first hearing in the Supreme Court of New Jersey, and it comes down to First Amendment issues is what their arguments are using there. You can't violate the First Amendment, and that's what the state tries to do if they try to suppress the people speaking out saying they want to conduct a recall of an elected official.
All right.
And it's not a club that once you're elected you're there for life, as far as I'm concerned.
Seems like they all think that, though.
Exactly, they do. Some of our elected officials have been in Washington, D.C. for more than 50 years. And that is not how our founding fathers set our country when they established the Constitution. It was not supposed to be a lifetime career politician. You're supposed to be a citizen politician.
Yeah, I think they believe that everybody would take their chance at it and work to make the country better and do a limited term there. I know, getting back to Baucus, the state of Montana had a popular vote, and a term limit thing was passed when him and Republican, I forget his name.
The term limits were passed in Montana and actually written into the Montana Constitution in 1993. In the election of the fall of '92, the statute was approved and went into effect in January of '93, setting term limits for everybody, all elected officials in Montana, and it includes U.S. representatives and U.S. senators.
Right.
And following that, there was a suit in federal court in 1995, and the Supreme Court ruled that states cannot set term limits for federal officials, or what they consider federal officials. But again, I think the argument against that really is the 10th Amendment, because the 10th Amendment gives wide powers to the states and to the people of the states, and it gives limited powers to the federal government. That's what the 10th Amendment is all about. And it's really a 10th Amendment issue, because if we can't recall a senator that we elect, nobody else in the country votes for our senators in Montana. Only the people of Montana.
Absolutely.
The Supreme Court does not elect our senators. They shouldn't have a voice in if we are dissatisfied with our service we're getting from our elected congressman, whether it's a representative or a senator. We should be able to recall them because they serve us. We pay their salaries.
That's correct.
This whole issue of whether or not they're in charge of us or we're in charge of them, we are their employers. They are our servants. It's very plain language in the Constitution.
That's how it should be, and we don't see it that way anymore. They seem to be working above our level and look down on us and tell us how to run our lives and how the Constitution should be interpreted. And like you said, 10th Amendment is a strong thing, and a lot of states are going after that issue to strengthen the 10th Amendment and start putting limitations on the federal government. The gun law we passed here in Montana was very morbid. Manufacture our own things here. A lot of states are trying to move in that direction to try to at least tell the federal government to back off a little, let the states have their power. You've got your authority to protect our borders and such, instead of running micromanaging everybody's lives.
Yes, Montana does have an advantage of being a sovereign state, and we have popular sovereignty is written into the Constitution of Montana. But the legislature of Montana needs to tighten the rules or the laws of sovereignty to actually give the state more power. They need to delineate it better in the Constitution so that the federal government cannot usurp authority over our state.
Right. We tried to pass that last legislative session, and it was a 50-50 vote, so it didn't go through. And
yes, we need to get a supermajority in Helena.
And we need pro-conservation and pro-republic type people over there. Limited government, lower taxes, and I know we work with a lot of the new Republicans and the older Republicans on these issues, and they are moving back to the right, which is a good sign. And they got a lot of bills lined up, I know, that try to change these things to get Montana strengthened so we can make an effect on that.
Yes. The sovereignty status of the state needs to be strengthened, and then you need to have the fortitude, our legislature needs to have the fortitude to stand up against the federal government. Our state legislature in Montana is the only thing that stands between the people of Montana and the federal government. And they need to do their job. Our state legislature honestly needs to do their job. They need to enact a stricter sovereignty clause into the Constitution and hold the federal government at bay to do what the federal government is supposed to do, which is very limited.
Right.
Very limited